ticketing. And actually, I would like to start directly with the introductions. So we are here together with Альберт Саяповы, who is the access control solutions expert working on the FIFA World Cup project in the US, Canada, and Mexico, and also has extensive experience with organizing and doing the same role on the previous World Cups. And then, secondly, we have myself. So I'm Daniel Krijan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of TrueCrowd, a spin-off from a biometric leader called Innovatrix. And I'm here to represent TrueCrowd, which is focusing on the live entertainment industry and sports together. So welcome, Albert. And very quickly, I would like to bring us to the context and why we are here today. So it was in January when we had a live session, a live conference called Don't Forget the Tickets, where we had a discussion with Prayanda Silva from Wimbledon on the topic of biometric ticketing. And that was followed up actually by a post from Albert, who was addressing different concerns and different, points on why the technology could actually not work or potentially fail. And therefore, we are here today to try to clarify different points, to try to maybe explain some misconceptions, and to have a discussion, I hope very fruitful discussion, on whether biometric ticketing can be a real solution for different problems in the sport world. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure to be here. And of course, my post was, I don't know, I can't say it's a wave in the ocean right now or a wave on the shore, but let's see where it leads us with all these questions and discussions.
Indeed. So I will actually, for the structure, so that everyone is in line, we are going to try to go point by point on those topics. And I will start directly with one big topic, which is the topic of ticket scalping, which was one of the big debates which we had in the podcast or in the live session in London. So in there, we were very briefly explaining what biometric ticketing is, how it works, and how it can help solving the stadium security issues and the ticket scalping. And there was this reaction from Albert saying that ticket scalping won't be resolved. And I'm here, or it leads me to immediately ask, why you stand behind this opinion, and maybe let's try to tackle this topic a bit more.
Of course, the ticket scalping is a huge problem right now for the whole industry, for the ticketing industry right now. And most of the ticketing providers, mainly the ticketing providers, are trying to solve it. It's not the biometrics or access control who needs to solve this ticket scalping issue or problem. And it's mainly the ticketing providers. And how the ticketing providers are solving it right now, it's either prohibiting the resale platform, so they are not even introducing resales, and which means for the end user or end client who is using the ticketing software right now, they are losing money. So most of the people or most of the companies or event organizers wants to have more and more money coming to their company or for their event. They want to have a resale platform right now. I'm going back to how they are trying to solve it. It's basically to prohibit the bots doing some KYC for the clients, and implement some financial fraud mechanism that prevent financial fraud. But mainly, how we can combat this scalping is basically to prevent people reselling, or give them a way how they can verify that this resale platform, even if it's not official resale platform, through a third-party website or whatever, we need to have them and to give them a tool to verify if it's a valid ticket from the initial event organizer or it's a fraud ticket. So we are not even fighting with the scalpers. We're also fighting with the fraudulent activities, with people who is trying to resell their tickets or trying to counterfeit the tickets and sell them on different markets. And we have these platforms. There's so many resale platforms where people can buy these tickets, and then they are coming to the event and trying to enter the venue through this access control. And of course, they will be rejected because it's either the fraudulent ticket or counterfeit ticket, or it was triple resale or triple sold. So to be honest, biometric is the way how the people will be accessing the premises. It's basically the access control. And of course, if you want to combat scalping, combat resale, we need to force everyone to start using biometrics. But then all the scalpers will start creating fake accounts with biometrics, which then it's either you need to prohibit transferring the ticket, which is also, again, it's not feasible for most of the event organizers because people are buying tickets. We are allowing them to buy 2, 3, 4, or even 10 tickets in a row, and then they are transferring all these tickets to their guests. So if we will start using biometrics and introduce biometrics for all spectators, ticket scalpers, they will create fake accounts with biometrics, with approved biometrics again, and then they will anyhow resell this ticket and they will transfer this ticket. So we need to block reselling and transferring the ticket. Then, of course, it will work. It definitely will work with biometrics because we will understand that these people is not allowed to enter, or it will allow it only with recognized biometrics. And of course, fake accounts, even with the fake biometrics, will be prohibited, right?
Now, my question is, because you mentioned a lot of concepts on how to potentially solve the problem. And one of them, if you want to stop the transferring of the tickets, that poses a big limitation to fans. Because if you stop, if you stop this possibility, then if for example, if I get injured, I get sick, or I just cannot travel to that game, then I'm going to lose my money. I think that's not going to work in operations wise.
That's true. That's true. This is the huge limitation of the overall ticketing operation on the venue.
So, good. So what I wanted to also refer to, sorry for interrupting, is that it's not only the part on entering with your face or with your biometrics, but we want to already start the process of linking the ticket to the face. So what do I mean by that? Is that so that we also give context to everyone listening, because not everyone maybe has the expertise in the biometrics field. And to say it very simply, what we want to do is that when you're buying a ticket, or when you're creating an account for buying a ticket, for example, with a club or any other organization, then you have a process where you take a photo of your document from both sides, followed by a selfie. And this is a process known as KYC, which many people might know from banking. And it is doing specifically two very important points. One, it's making sure that exactly fraudulent people are not able to buy a ticket. Secondly, it's blocking bots, because we know that bots do not have faces and they do not have identity documents. And it automatically leads me to what you said, because you mentioned that a lot of times, fraudsters or ticket scalpers would just create fake account or fake identities. Can you maybe try to talk a bit more about that? How would you imagine that happening?
Yeah, of course. On a black market, you can buy any IDs with all the selfies, with everything. So basically, for them, let's start from beginning. If we will implement it, it definitely block some of the scalpers from accessing the web portal. But then, of course, they will evolve. For some of them who already knows how to deal with different scripts and development and software development, and then biometrics, they will easily adapt to this new environment. So they will start buying these fake identities. They will create the fake identities on the ticketing portal plus biometrics, and they will do the same thing again and again and again. Yes, it will decrease their profit because you need to buy everything on the black market right now. But in general, it's huge ocean, and it will be just a drop of just a small drop. So we will not prevent everything and everyone from scalping our tickets and ticket inventory and then trying to resell it on the platform or different platforms. Unfortunately, this is the way how IT works.
Here I would like to counter with a bit of the biometrics expertise. So we
Okay.
obviously have, you already mentioned a bit like how people can try to go around the systems. So we call it the spoofing of an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that you either try to present a fake identity document and you try to present a fake image of your face. For that, there is a software or a system that's called liveness. And liveness detection is exactly meant to detect so-called presentation attacks. So whether I'm showing a picture, which is on a digital picture or one on a paper, or I have a 3D mask, this liveness detection can actually prevent the person from continuing into the second step. And it
Mm-hmm.
also translates to a higher level. So obviously that is the easiest way of trying to spoof the algorithm, but we also have the possibility today with deepfakes.
Mm-hmm.
However, deepfakes, how they function, you have it's called synthetic identity fraud. And what you do, you create a lookalike video of a face that's also moving, which is supposed to spoof the liveness detection.
Mm-hmm.
However, you or at least here in Innovatrix or the algorithm that we use, there are measures to detect whether the real genuine, the genuine camera was used or there was a
Mm-hmm.
one of
The
the
virtual one.
different methods. So in this way, we are actually able to see if someone is trying to spoof the algorithm, and we are able to stop them. So basically, what I can say that it's not that easy. It's actually very, very, very hard to get to the point where you spoof the algorithm. And the second part, obviously, is because if you say that you want to ban transferring and reselling tickets, if you were to buy a ticket with a fake identity and that ticket is linked to your face and you would like to try to enter the stadium, well, you would be holding a useless ticket
Yeah,
because
of course. Yeah, yeah. The
so,
second
so,
point,
so
I totally agree. This is the implications of this of introducing biometrics in ticketing. So if you will introduce it, and if you will block the resale or transferring the ticket, or resale and transferring basically, then of course the fake identities will not work because it's already linked with different biometrics. So you can't come to
no.
the venue with a fake ID or with deep fake.
Well, but if you let me challenge that a bit. If you or we can guarantee that you are not able to create or you're not able to pass the algorithm check or the identity verification check with a fake identity, then we know that all the people that create an account are actually real people and the proper people, the real fans as we like, or true fans as we like to call them, the true crowd. And in that case, if you enable reselling, but only from one verified account to another verified account, you can still keep that functionality. So still give that flexibility to the fans while not compromising on security and making sure that you still have the real ticket being distributed to the real people.
This is a good point, Daniel. Thanks for clarifying it. I can't evaluate it. Unfortunately, I'm not your developer, and I'm not. I don't know your system, how you prevent this spoofing things. But yeah, if you can guarantee, no one can guarantee, but at least if you can guarantee that 99.99% will not able to go through the spoofing techniques, then we might um, tell that the system is reliable.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what we all trying to do here, I mean, I'm as an access control solution expert here and cybersecurity and DevOps expert. I have a vast experience in IT as a managing IT in different departments. And right now I'm focusing on cybersec and compliance also. So
Mhm.
we need to create the, let's say, the firewall for scalpers or for hackers who
Mhm.
wants to attack us, and we need to uh, put the bar so high that the attack will basically will be so expensive for them to recreate, to do everything. It will be so expensive, so they will not benefit from attacking the system at all. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still, even if you will steal some flows, the security flows in your software or in your system, but the cost of attack will be skyrocketing. That means that
Mhm.
we succeeded.
Yeah.
But why I was mentioning that you can make a fake identities, it's already well-known attack on one of the Asian markets that the bank was implementing QIC and facial biometrics verification through the app, and the hackers were able to attack the Android devices of end users and then basically transfer all their money from bank accounts through
And
even
if I can,
conforming the identity.
yeah, if I can quickly so that I can talk directly to that, and it's
Yeah.
very important. So there are attacks, and there have been some cases when the attackers were able to circumvent some solutions. And this is very, very important to stress that if you are choosing a biometric ticketing provider or a biometric provider in general, you really have to look at the top algorithms that have, first of all, you only check for algorithms that are listed on NIST rankings. So it's called National Institute of Standard and Technology. And they are the only global benchmark that is evaluating biometric algorithms on a live basis. And you can see very transparently all the tests that have been done. And therefore, you should only choose from algorithms that are listed in there, and you should go for the best ones. And this is something to talk about. Since we're using the Innovatrix, which is top 10 in the world, we can really guarantee the quality. And there has been no case of our technology being spoofed in real deployment. So that is super, super important to say. And maybe on top, I very much agree with you. One is the cost of trying it. Second is also the consequences. So now, what is there? There is already a consequence for, let's say, doing reselling in some markets. So ticket resale is forbidden, I don't know, for example, in the UK, right?
Yeah.
But it's a very different consequence to get a 5,000 pound fine compared to identity fraud or to identity theft, which can be differing from 5 years in some countries to 10 to 15 years. So that's also a very different risk that you are taking into account. Anyway, so that I'm conscious of the time. So
Yeah.
I believe that we kind of touched upon that there could be a possibility how this could actually stop or to very large extent limit ticket scalping. But I would like to move directly to the second point, which is kind of linked because we already talked a bit about the costs, and you have more experience and more expertise in this area. So I would actually like you to elaborate a little bit more on the point that implementation costs, you see them as high, and it's not only about the cameras, but also on-premise servers.
Yeah, it's my let's say it's my understanding right now how the system is working, and I don't know what are the requirements and prerequisites that we need to fulfill in order to onboard the system onto the venue as an access control provider. So, or there should be a third-party system. So most of the venues already have the access control solution in place. So they're using turnstiles. If you are speaking about the UK, they're using half-K turnstiles because of the fans and hooligans. And they also wants to prohibit and they are supporting the blacklists. So if you are doing something wrong on the venue, you will be blocked for entire life, and you will not be able to attend any matches on the UK or throughout the world. So in order to introduce biometrics, you of course need to have some compute powers that will process all the data or the live stream on premise. I mean, for me, from security standpoint, I want to make it everything is as much as secure. I don't want to leave my premises. I don't want to share any data with anyone because from the compliance perspective and GDPR regulations, it's really crucial to adapt all the terms and conditions, compliance, and the biometrics or PII data processing before implementing any biometric things. So from my perspective, as I can understand right now, you need to have a server or enough compute powers to process all the live stream from all the turnstiles. Let's say for Old Trafford venue, it will be roughly around 120, 130, 150 turnstiles. So 150 live streams, 150 cameras, plus integration, plus software, plus licensing. It might be a little bit expensive for the club or for the venue itself to just to onboard this solution without proper benefit. If we are talking only about the ticket scalping, then I have a huge doubt.
Multiple benefits.
Yeah.
There are multiple benefits. I will wait. Let me quickly just say that it's not only ticket scalping. Obviously, it is also the security that you mentioned. For example, in the UK market, it's also talking about the speed of access, which is always super important, especially for big events or the mega events, as they are usually called. And I mentioned, I believe, in the podcast, there was the difference in the project in Brazil, where you had a classic QR code scanning, which was roughly 8 to 10 people per minute on a turnstile, went up to 21 to 25. I think the very, very peak was 28 that they had. But that's the value. We kind of touched upon it in the podcast. I really want to go more into specifics, which is the interesting part in here. And that's addressing actually this deployment, because that's something that also is not that known yet, since it's new in the industry. And I would divide the two parts. So we have the part which we touched upon in point 1, which is the part of linking the face to the ticket. So we have the biometric verification. That is always going to have to run online because it is a service that you need to have, because people are buying tickets from their homes. And that is very important from the GDPR or from any country's legislation, that the servers, in this case, virtual private servers, are hosted in the country where the event is taking place, so that the data is not traveling between countries. Extremely important, and we keep that in mind. Sorry. Second point, very, very important, is a DPIA, which is always or which must be always done when we are talking about implementing biometrics for or biometric processing. Why is that? Because biometric data is considered a special category of data. And therefore you need to have this document where you assess the proportionality, where you assess how the solution is built, where the data is stored, how the transfers happen. And you basically really have a very, very detailed look into why is it done, how is it done, and so on. Now, to take on the second part, which is the part of the access, you could indeed go with an on-prem server, but first thing is directly, I will clarify, is that we don't have 150 streams which are being continuously sent on the on-prem server, which is then returning results. The solution, how we have it, is that you have a camera camera with a feedback display, does not matter, which is capturing the face. It's cropping the face, so you have only this small part, and immediately converting it to the biometric template. So that's going to be the discussion for the next points. And the biometric template is a string of characters which has 522 bytes, really small, small file, which is then sent to the server, and it returns back an information. Now, that's one way of deploying it. Then there is a second way of deploying it, where, since we're not working with faces, but only with biometric templates or facial templates, we are able to load them directly on the device, like if we have not only an IP camera, but we have a camera with a device, we're able to load those templates on it, and all the processing is happening directly on the device without the need for any on-prem servers. And that significantly, really significantly decreases any costs, speed of matching, and the security as well, and increases obviously the security, because there is even less data transfer happening. So that is a little bit of explanation of how it works, both while buying the ticket and also entering the stadium. And then the costs actually aren't that high because we're not doing this continuous streaming and sending huge loads or huge folder sizes there and forth.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarification. Do you mind explaining me how you are creating the biometric template on a device? How much compute power it needs to process the image and create a biometric template? And what are the how many errors it can?
Yes. Yeah. So multiple things. First of all, I'm not a technical person, so I know a lot of technical stuff on the solution, but not all. Well, in terms of processing power, we always have some minimal hardware requirements, which the camera should have, basically. And those are really low. So we can go with a 2 gigabytes RAM and 2 gigabytes of storage space, and we can have a HD quality of a camera that is already sufficient enough to be handling the whole process. So that's the first part. Second part is the quality of the algorithm. So if we go back to what I mentioned about NIST, so the NIST rankings, and when you open that, there is loads of numbers. Let's try to break it down to simple language also for everyone listening in here. We are basically looking on the number of people that are having issues or are not being correctly identified on the gate compared to the entire database. If we are looking at the algorithm that we are using of Innovatrix, and we are looking at the parameter of checking one face against a database of 1.6 million faces, we have an accuracy of 99.89%. And that's the first parameter on the quality of matching. And then there is a second parameter on the speed, which is also very important. And we are, again, it's done against a certain size of a list. So we have a list of 12 million people, and the search against the 12 million database takes 500 milliseconds per core. So if we have a multi-core device, it's obviously going to be much faster. The idea is that and now really for the ones that are not that technical, the scanning, meaning the recognition of the face, the conversion into the template, the matching, and the result is all below 1 second. That's the most important for everyone to know. That's how we are able to get to that speed of the access control speed, so the turnstile speed.
Okay, great. Below 1 second is, of course, a really important thing, but in average, the ticket scanning and ticket validation results should be returned within 250, 300 milliseconds. It's for QR code or for NFC device. So I'm a little bit concerned about this. First, the Brazil case is really interesting. But I still a little bit concerned how they implement biometrics and why the ticket speed and ticket scanning with the QR codes or NFC devices, NFC tickets is so low. It's just 6 people per minute, I think. 6 people, 66, one person per 6 seconds. So it's still low. It can be increased, definitely. How they achieve 20 person per minute, I don't know. Maybe we're waiting in a line and we're running. I don't know. I can't even imagine how they achieve this 20, 21 or 28 persons. It's like every second, every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, every 3 seconds you have a person entering, and it's very simple because we always say it's the QR codes itself is not a bad tech. So we're talking from a tech perspective. It's how the people use it. So we always have the problems of people not being ready, having the phone rotating, having low brightness, having some kind of issues of showing the wrong QR code. So there is usually the way, and also how I see it working when I go to games. I a lot of times see that people just don't know how to properly work with it. Whereas if you only have your face and you only need to walk in front of a device and it's immediately recognizing you and sending you in, you just basically have people entering all the time continuously. And that's the reason, that's the way how you're actually able to get to that speed of access.
Yeah, basically you need to organize people in the crowd, in the line, and tell them what to do. Of course, we still need to teach them how to present QR code and how to use the QR code. And the vast majority still didn't use NFC. NFC technology is still not so widely used in Europe. I don't know why, but this is the huge opportunity for all the clubs right now. Implement the NFC and improve this flow of all the spectators on the venue, because in the US, most of the venues already use the NFC. The NFC is like 80 to 85%. Most of the people know how to use it, and they are always adding all their tickets to the NFC to their phones to use the NFC devices.
Well, I would say that NFC is definitely faster and more convenient, but at the same time, it's not helping solve an issue. So, why we are trying to skip these steps and go from a paper ticket or a digital QR code ticket to biometric ticketing is that when you get rid of exactly the fact that people can just share tickets to whoever, it means that it's always from a verified account to another. That's when you start solving, the scalping, security issues, all of that. So NFC is nice for speed of entry, but if you want a solution which is helping speed of entry and solving 2 or 3 other problems, then suddenly biometric ticketing starts to be really, really interesting. So it's a bit
Yeah.
about what you want to achieve.
Yeah, Daniel, I just want to put one coin in this statement. Is definitely you're right. You're telling that from security perspective, if we want to recognize who is coming to the venue and who is going through the turnstiles, of course we need to implement biometrics. But this is the governmental surveillance or surveillance in general. Because you already mentioned Brazil. Brazil is not the case when they were truthfully or rightfully implement the biometrics on their venues. It's government who is forcing them to implement biometrics on all the venues, and the venues which is more than 20,000 people needs to have, it's a must to have biometrics right now. And plus, no one knows how they will process the biometrics. Will they share the biometrics with the government? And right now, as I know from news, from Brazil news, one of the venues already implement the biometrics with governmental database. So it means that government will
Yeah. Can I
monitor
directly
everyone. So my point is why I'm against biometrics, because of the mass surveillance. If we will start using it on all the venues, from whatever reason, if we just want to prevent scalping or give the users easy access without knowing that it will affect in the long run, it will affect our lives, that government might force us, then everyone to use biometrics, we are doing not the good thing. I mean, from technology perspective, it's a cool thing, but from total surveillance, we don't want to be a China, right?
Well, I have to now explain a few things because it's a lot of stuff. So indeed, Brazil is a use case similar to other South American countries. We're talking Chile, we're talking Ecuador, we're talking Mexico. We are talking soon. There are going to be some new ones. I'm not going to talk about them yet. There are multiple countries that have regulations. So it's coming from the government. Why? Purely security reason. There was a bomb thrown on a field in Brazil. There have been stabbings and people dying on games in Mexico and Chile. There's really reasons why the government had to come, because the clubs were not solving the situation. So the government had to come and say, okay, this is how we're going to solve it. Now, I don't know about all the providers in Brazil, how they do the biometrics. And this is the difference. And that's why I was stressing really importantly that when you are choosing a biometric provider, you really have to go for those that not only have good technology, but also have all the privacy, privacy by design they have. And that's super important. And here I'm going to once again reinforce what I already mentioned in the podcast. And there's a difference between verification and identification, or the difference between biometric ticketing and surveillance. So when you are buying a ticket and you have the solution in place, you are giving your consent. So you are giving consent to processing of biometric data for the purpose of linking it to the ticket and entering. So there is no possibility you can use this data for surveillance within the stadium, because it's a different system. We as a company, we do not sell that system. And it is basically, as I mentioned in the podcast, like if you're talking surveillance, is that the cameras in the stands are searching for one face in the stands, and they're trying to pinpoint it, find who it is, and compare it to a database. But we are not the ones who are giving them the database. So if they want to do it, they would have to be connecting to the government's database. But that's, again, out of the scope for biometric ticketing. So that's one thing. Second thing, and now we are going a little bit to what we discussed on the biometric templates, is that since we don't have raw biometric data, and that by that I mean a real face, if we were to share data, obviously we're not, but if the government was to get the data, they have no way to use it, because biometric templates, facial biometric templates, are irreversible. So also maybe a bit of a tech background. If we're talking fingerprints, there is a standard, a miniature standard, which enables you to potentially reverse engineer and get back to the original fingerprint. With faces, there is no standard. Every biometric company has their own way of decoding and encoding the template, which means that If we use our system, but a government has just, pictures or uses a different system, those systems are not interoperable and you are not able to use that data in any way. And therefore, you know that if you gave your consent for your club to enter, that's the only where the data is going to be used. And lastly, obviously, you can always request the deletion of your data. So if you no longer want your data to be stored, you can very easily do that, and there is going to be no trace. So this is very important to understand because a lot of people are afraid of what the governments are going to do. And it is very important to have in mind that it is for a specific reason and you don't share data between multiple systems.
Yeah, this is the right statement. The government can't use the biometric template that you are storing in your system. What I'm trying to tell that in case the biometric will be adopted by many of the venues, many of the clubs, government officials will definitely come and say, let's start regulating it, because there is so many biometric providers, so many clubs already adopting this technology. Let's regulate it, let's create something, and let's force everyone first adopt the venues who didn't adopt this technology, so they need to comply, they need to bring this technology on the venue. Then they will come and they will say, we have a database right now, you need to store everything in our database. What's happening, basically, what might happen or already happening in Brazil, or what is happening in Russia right now. They're not using biometrics, but they're using fan ID passports for all the fans and all the kids, even the kids who is below 14 years old. They need to have this passport,
Yeah,
which
and if I
is
can,
not good.
yeah, if I can, immediately two topics. So
Yeah.
first topic, as I said, we don't share with the government, and that's why we have strong uh, policies in place. So if we are talking GDPR, it's probably the most strict policy. US also has a very strict policy. Plus, we have the AI Act coming into place. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to somehow go in the direction which you've been describing, because any kind of an attempt like this would be immediately stopped and punished. Just like, for example, facial biometrics is forbidden in the AI Act for surveillance in the streets, and not even the police can use it because of exactly of doing the surveillance on the people. So that's why we have these frameworks and regulations in place to make sure that as we just I think published recently, biometrics to be used by you, not on you. So that's the difference. And I'm glad that you're touching upon the part with the minors, because that was basically point, I think, number 3 that you had in
Mm-hmm.
there, and that was the processing of data of minors. And in this sense, I can describe a little bit how we can prevent that from happening, or how we prevent that. So when we look at processing of biometric data, scanning a document, so an identity document, is not processing of data. So if we look at someone below 15 years of age who who does not have an ID, first of all, they are already not able to buy a ticket. So they are already totally off the radar. We are not able to work with them in any way. Secondly, if it's a person, and I'm talking from our standards, it's usually 15 to 18. In the US would be 21, but let's talk 15 to 18 for our case. You have usually an ID and you have a bank account, so you could potentially go and buy a ticket. However, if we let you first scan your identity document, which is not biometric processing, and we detect that your age is below 18, we can easily block you from continuing to stage number 2, which is taking a selfie and processing that selfie. So we know that we are basically able to block minors from going into this process, because any kind of data processing, so not only biometric data processing, but any kind of data processing, as we know, is important to do with parental or guardian consent. So if the parent then decides that they actually want their children to use the technology, and the children agree, because they can always disagree their parents and their word is going to be stronger.
Yeah.
But if the child agrees and the parents give their consent, then they are able to do the flow without the document, but that only goes from the parental account. So then you basically give the consent, and you only open the module with the face only the selfie part, and you can take the photo of the child, link it to the ticket, and you are good to go. You're set. So this is how we can actually avoid this whole situation of happening. And I think this is very, very important to take in mind.
Yeah. Okay. And I think the last question from my side regarding the legal and compliance, and again, this GDPR thing, where they stipulating that you shouldn't collect all the data and only process the data that needed. Plus, you can't reject people based on the processing of data and do not give them the same service, which means that if you are introducing biometrics, you are rejecting some people who is not, who don't want to share their biometric data, and you're blocking them from buying the ticket, which is against the GDPR law, as I understood right now.
Yes. So again, two things. So first, I will touch upon the first part you said, and indeed, it's all about data minimization. So we actually had an article go out on our website very recently on this topic. So those that want to go more in depth, please feel free to read that. And what is data minimization? It's really saying that there is usually a contract between ticket buyer and the ticket seller, which stipulates which data need to be collected. So we can talk about the full name, perhaps date of birth, and address. Let's say these three. And therefore, you can only collect those three data points, and you have to basically avoid or overlook all the rest of the data, which we have built in the system. So if we are scanning your identity document, we are able to set up front which data are going to be processed and which are going to be stored. So this is very important, step number one. And I will actually go one step further. It's also the the data has to be pseudonymized. I'm really not a fan of this word, but it means that if we are holding a biometric template and some data on that person, we have them in two separate databases.
Yes.
With one identifier, which we are not able to say that this template belongs to this name. We can just say this template belongs to an identifier XYZ, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And this is very, very important because we are not able to say, hey, Albert, you're out, you're not able to go in, and so on and so on, because we just decided. Now, second part, when you say indeed, so we have the GDPR, which says that you always need to have an alternative. And we always talk about it in the sense that you can have manual biometric verification. So if you're really wanting to solve scalping, if you really wanted to solve security, if you wanted to go in this direction, you can say, well, those that don't want to have automatic biometric data processing, you can go to manual checks. And as we know them today, so you will have someone who is going to be checking, trying to compare, sorry, trying to compare if the photo on your image equals your face, and that's the solution.
Okay, but this means that biometric will not be fully implemented in ticketing, and you will still allow people without the biometric profile linked to their ticketing profile to sell or buy or transfer their ticket, right?
So you would have a limitation on, obviously, on the fact that those people that don't go through the automatic verification, they would have to go manually. So they would have to go to box office, or there would have to be a contingency case or contingency scenario built for that solution. So there is this possibility, or the possibility is to just upload the document, put a name on the ticket, and do the checks on the gate. So you have manual entries, and then you have the ones where the people are walking in, holding ticket in one hand, holding their document in the other hand, and there is a steward checking, which is very, very inconvenient. That's why the biometric access is a much better option.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think do we cover all the topics? I don't have any other questions right now, but we can, of course, have another session and discuss any other questions, or maybe our
I'm quickly
viewers
checking.
will leave some comments here.
Yeah, I will just quickly check the points. I think there was one I wanted to explain,
Okay.
and that was the one Google Apple, and then the data leak, just to finish that. So that will be probably the last
Great.
topic. And then yes, if we have any questions from the audience, we'll be we'll be happy to touch upon them. So going back to Google and Apple, so this was a very interesting one because it still stands in a sense. So a very quick question: do you use Apple or Android?
I'm using Apple.
Okay, so I mean, it's purely for this example. Indeed, biometric, your fingerprint or your face image, which you are using as for entering your device or for unlocking your device, it's stored locally. It's stored in a part which Apple cannot access. But I have another question. Do you also use iCloud?
I'm using iCloud with advanced protection right now.
Yeah. So basically, iCloud, you are putting your data on Apple servers, and they are doing a check since 2021 against child abuse, child sexual abuse. So they're basically checking every single photo. So that's what I was referring to, that even though you
Yeah, the photos, they definitely right now, if we are talking biometric, it's totally different. What they're doing right now and checking the photos and nudity and the child abuse is definitely from the photos. It's not from the biometrics, which is not shared with any of the Apple server because it's stored in a secure container on your device. So this is the major point. Yeah, Apple is still checking something, even if your advanced protection is switched on. They introduced recently this advanced protection in order to guard everyone from guard their users and prevent the stealing and the hacking activities from different let's say sources or people or even the government or police officials.
Yeah. Well, what I was referring to, like if you have data with them in some way or another, they are able to use them or check them. Google is also training their facial recognition algorithm used for detecting photos by face. They are testing it on the pictures of the people that are being uploaded. So what I was trying to say is that because it goes back to the templates and the data leaks, which is very, very important information, is that if biometric template is being used or leaks or someone else gets to it, you really can't do much with it. Why? Because once again, if you wanted to do identity theft and use it for, let's say, unlocking a bank account or buying ticket on behalf of someone else, you need to present a face, your real face. So if you are showing a string of 700 characters, you are not going to achieve anything with it. And then there was one important thing I want to stress, because you mentioned that if you lose your biometric template or if it's hacked, you are not able to change it. So first of all, for me, it's like, you lost the key or you found the key, but you don't know to which house it belongs. So you're not able to do much with the key. It's point number one. And the point number two is that you have a contingency scenario for that, which means that we could update the algorithm. So we could update the algorithm which we use, and automatically that new algorithm would not be accepting templates, the old templates. So if such a solution, such a scenario happened, which has never happened before in biometric ticketing or so far in what we have been doing, so it never happened. But if it were to happen, there is this contingency scenario where you can actually really update the whole algorithm, and then you know that everything that leaked is really useless. So that's what I was referring to, and it's very, very important for people to know, because we want people to feel safe and to really trust the technology, because it's meant to help them, not to hinder them. So that is a bit that I wanted to touch upon the points. Anything else still from your side, or we have the points covered?
I think we covered all the points. As I said, I don't have any other questions right now to discuss. From my side, as I told you before, I'm a little bit concerned of introducing biometrics because you will not achieve all your goals. And in the long run, as I said, we are not thinking about right now and today just to protect, I don't know, fight the scalpers or give people access through the turnstile, whether they can already use the different technologies. But in the long run, if we will start using biometrics everywhere, something might get wrong. And I'm with all these topics regarding the governmental surveillance, I'm a little bit concerned and afraid that we are trying to adapt this really immersive technology into our lives and give government or different type of officials to start thinking that they can use this technology in their benefit. What I propose, the biometrics is a good thing. From my perspective, is a good thing for employees. If you want to give, you just need to change it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because something is wrong with my microphone. So, from my perspective, where we can use the biometrics is for employees, for access control of the employees, for access control of VIP, club, hospitality, or season ticket holders, to just give them easy access to the premises, to the clubs, to lounges, suites. Also, there should be value-added services that we can provide with usage of biometrics. Is like the group of people can go with one person who has already biometrics, so it's link 4 or 5 tickets to the account, and they're going through biometric system, and only one person is presenting his face, and then a steward can check that there is 5 or even more tickets linked to this account, and there is a group of 5 people is standing with him. And of course, maybe as an addition, value-added services, you are paying with biometrics on the venue, on some markets, or at the club level suites, or at the bars, or at the grab-and-go concessions, which might allow people to, let's say, share their biometrics data. All these examples I provided that we are already using here in the US. Some of the venues already implemented biometrics for easy access, like the TSA pre-check or global entry at the airports. Of course, this is the major thing, and you need to apply if you want to go to US and have a easy access through border and customs. And the same applies to the venues. So they have a special priority lane, fast track, or whatever you call it, and people are keen to leave their biometrics, but it's a small group of people. It's not all the spectators.
I believe, and I said that already in the podcast, I believe it's important to start bringing that cases step by step. So even when you say that, let's say season ticket holders or VIPs or employees or different groups, why not? I mean, this is the start. And I always reinforce the idea that I have had my doubts before I started working in Innovatrix and using technology, and very quickly understanding really the background, how it works, how are the safety measures put in place, and having really this background, I really started trusting the technology. That's very, very, very important. And there are loads of benefits. So there are the obvious benefits of having fair ticket prices, of knowing I'm safe in the stadium, of knowing I'm going to get in easier, faster, and I'm going to get some additional benefits related to that. There's always loads of space to play with. And therefore, I believe that it is a very valuable technology. I'm quickly looking at the comments. We have comments here from a few people, or actually multiple comments from Pascal here. I'm not sure we're going to be able to answer all of them, but let me at least take one or two so that we end it by half past. Pascal is exactly mentioning that facial recognition could be then mandated also for payments. And this goes actually back to what Albert, you were saying. I believe it's a nice addition. So it's good that you have the possibility, but I don't see a reason why this would be mandated, because there is really no problem to be solved. So the reason why you would like to introduce ticketing is exactly because of either fraud or scalping or security. But for payments, that's not the case. Now, second question I see in here, let me quickly check, was about Europe. So many policies in Europe got the right to do some PIC with facial recognition. So the maybe POC with facial recognition. So the endpoint is still in the air. I will need a bit more context on this, so Pascal, we can then try to answer that comment later on. And then there is the part on transfers for corporate hospitality, and additional points on entries must be put in place and manned for that activity. Transfer is also essential. Well, that goes back to what I already mentioned. I also believe transferring tickets is important, but it has to be done from one verified account to another, so that we avoid that transferring is happening, from wrong hands to wrong hands. That's basically it. But let's be mindful of the time, of your time, of the time of the listeners. I am very glad that you accept this discussion. I think you had a lot of very good points, and you shared some of your expertise from actually doing or leading different projects and doing the access control part at the stadium. So I'm very glad for that, and really thank you for joining. And I hope that there is going to be perhaps some continuation. We will have a recording of this session, which we'll distribute, shortly after. Let's see.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. It was a pleasure to meet you in person, let's say, even if it's online, but it's in person. And yeah, I believe we have a really good conversation. I hope all the viewers or who is watching right now, who will be watching us in the recording, in the saved version of this meeting, let's say, they will take some insights, and they will try to either adapt this technology securely
Yes.
or they will just
They
keep
really
it.
have they
Yeah.
have the really input. They know now what is needed to be done. They have a little bit more background of what are the good practices, what potential misconceptions are, how it works. So it's all about transparency, right? We want people to know what they are potentially implementing and how it works, how it's going to impact them. So that's
Of
how
course.
maybe
Of
wrap
course.
that up. Great.
Yeah.
Then
Great.
thanks
Thank you.
everyone for listening, and we'll be happy to follow up and discuss privately or publicly with whoever else is interesting to contribute to the topic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. We're done.